Okay, so we have somebody here coming over to the field without online guns. Now,
That's
generally, this is something you do before you undock. Am I right?
Yeah,
or have
yeah,
I
yeah.
not played this game for
Especially-
too long?
Especially before you try to get into a tournament. It takes me back to a tournament that I had to go at in Iceland at one of the fan fests. There we had time limits in our setup though of 5 minutes, and we often saw or made mistakes ourselves in having ammo loaded in the guns or cap booster charges. We're hoping that
indeed.
Cannonfodder has the rest of his strategy organized.
Well, that's true. I remember a particular tournament I commentated on in Iceland as well, where Laz and some of the other guys from Imperium, then Goonfleet, forgot to fit any mods whatsoever to their ships. That was
that
quite
doesn't-
interesting.
That doesn't sound like it was something they forgot. If they didn't have any modules, it's probably
No, they
something
ran out
intended.
of time. That's right. Yeah.
Probably something they
I think
intended.
I think Laz had a particularly cunning strategy that he wanted everyone to fit to, and of course didn't communicate with the rest of the team, and they arrived on field half fitted, some with guns, some with no guns, some with tank mods, most with no tank mods whatsoever, and promptly left the tournament.
So it's been a little while since you've played a lot, hasn't it, Shadoo?
Well,
What
it's
do-
been about 3 years, but as I
just-
understand, not a lot has changed.
Well, you just look on the screen here, you can see our first competitor, Xrend, or Xrend, however you want to say that one, has showed up on grid in a Vexor, and the Vexor has a new skin
Yeah,
attached
it's
to it.
blue.
It's got the blue
Wow.
the blue Quaif manufacturer's skin on it. What do you think of the new skins? Do they look pretty good?
I think the Quaif skin looks pretty good. You have a blue version of that for a Nyx, don't you?
I think there's a yellow one for a Nyx. Maybe a blue
I don't
one.
like a yellow Nyx. That doesn't sound like something I should wear. A blue Nyx I could get behind, but yeah.
I think it's a credit to the CCP art department. They've done quite a good job with skinnings and the new physically based rendering system. The game's looking fantastic. It always has, and I know it's won awards in the past for best graphics, but this really brings it right up to par with a lot of the other games out there on the market at the moment.
Well, it's certainly good to see an old game get a boost every now and then. As we say that, our second competitor has joined us on the field. Cannonfodder is entering the field in a Caracol. Xrend obviously is in a Vexor. Now there is quite a distance between these two guys. What do you see here?
I can see that Cannonfodder has come in his Caracal at about 50 kilometers from the center of the arena here. The Vexor is going to have a hard time trying to close that gap. Luckily, the drones are pretty quick, so he shouldn't have any problems sort of projecting his damage, so to speak, and getting it to apply to Cannonfodder's Caracal. We'll likely see some sort of long-range missile setup, obviously, on the Caracal, where he tries to hold range and kite and remain outside of web and scram range so that the newts, the Vexor never catches up to apply newts. It could just end up being a bit of a DPS race at that point, though. Not sure what they're waiting for here. We should be pretty well ready to start. They're both on grid.
To start, so
Maybe this is like some sort of odd mental
Well, what
capacity
I see-
stare down.
Well, what I see happening here, and you quite often see this actually in tournaments, is Xrend has turned on his auto block so that nobody convos him or convo spans him during the crucial fight, but that also blocked the invite to start the duel. And without the duel in high sec, it is not going to go well for whoever starts shooting, right? So with that, hopefully we'll get these minor technical details here in high sec sorted out, and we'll have a match underway in a minute. And now Cannonfodder has accepted the duel challenge from Xrend, and the match is underway. Cannonfodder is indeed starting to kite. He is turning away from Xrend's Vexor. He has to be careful now to not run out of bounds like Mr. Rive on a downhill slope. That happens scarily often, and it's not easy to maintain your distance from the from the center, and very quickly you can go out of bounds. And of course, there is a 75-kilometer boundary here. Is that right?
That's right. There's the 75 kilometer boundary for the arena. As you can see, Cannonfodder is starting to approach 60 kilometers from the center. I hope he's understanding that. He's obviously made it this far, probably using a caracal to get himself here this way.
He has not so far started any of the propulsion mods. He's going at a lowly 330. We're seeing some fire now from Cannonfodder, while Xrend Vexor is closing in at a blazing 601 meters per second, which is not a great speed whatsoever. And Cannonfodder is starting to kite here.
Yes, just as you mentioned, the speeds, Cannonfodder in the caracal has obviously started to light a micro warp drive there, and he's approaching 2 kilometers a second to maintain range from the Vexor. Xrend's Vexor is out of shields already, and we've seen him dip down to about half armor. Looks like the repairs are going to hold him for now. Like I was saying, it could just end up being a bit of a DPS race if he has trouble getting the drones to stay on Cannonfodder's caracal.
Yeah, what we're seeing here is that, in fact, the Caracal is playing this super extra safe. He's shooting at the drones from the Vexor of Xrend. Once Xrend runs out of drones, he has no damage whatsoever unless he gets right on top of this Caracal. But this Caracal is sitting pretty. He's way out maneuvering the Vexor, so as long as he doesn't move out of boundary, I think he's gonna sit pretty comfortable here.
Pretty safe for now.
Yeah, the Vexor has now in fact actually pulled in its drones, while Cannonfodder is probably changing missiles and damage type. What we saw there is Xrend went into armor very quickly, so he's obviously not shield tank. He is active armor tank though. He was pulling his damage in. What we should see here is Cannonfodder probably changing into a damage type, and that he gets a bonus for, and starts to get some of that damage in. Xrend now in half armor.
Just having a close look at Cannonfodder's character there, which is what I thought we'd likely see in this competition with the characters, is that he's using rapid light missile launchers. That's why he didn't start to shoot straight away. He had to wait for Xrend to close distance a little bit to be in range. And obviously why we saw such a long pause there, where he was likely reloading the launchers just because of their long reload cycle of about 35 seconds.
Right, that's a little bit of a wait time, all right. Whenever Cannonfodder does get his launchers reloaded, we see a massive burst of damage. Xrend is going to take chunks here in his armor. We see missiles on the way. He may be a little bit far away still, unless we're seeing the Caracal once again shoot these remaining Ogre 2s off the field, as I saw a couple of missiles heading that way. Xrend has no chance whatsoever right now of catching this Caracal, which is unfortunate for him.
As his armor tank, he's likely isn't set up to go quickly at all. I think the Vexor is a little slower than the Caracal. Unfortunately for him, he seems to have banked entirely being able to get a scram and a web on his target, obviously using the Ogre drones that we can see here. They're much too slow and never ever going to catch up to the Caracal while it's burning away. The Caracal will have, and I think we can see there the missiles are hitting the Ogre in the tail as it returns to the Vexor. And
That's right.
And it was taking damage, you can see on the screen there.
Well, in fact, it just got destroyed. So what we have here is the Vexor is losing Xrend, and a Vexor is losing his drones at a rapid pace. Hopefully soon Cannonfodder will man up and start shooting Xrend, because I don't think he has anything to fear from these Ogre 2s. There's no reason to waste ammo. Just get on with it, my friend. In fact, what we have here is Xrend has completely stopped even trying to chase Cannonfodder in a Caracal. He was just staying put there for a moment. Now he's probably looking at it and saying, oh well, I think I gotta give this a good old try at least. And Cannonfodder, listening to us, has now started to shoot this Vexor. Xrend is taking damage. He is not able to sustain his tank for much longer. Of course, Cannonfodder will run out of his active missiles and will have to reload for 35 seconds in a moment here. Hobgoblin 2s are out, which have a slight chance of catching the Caracal. The Caracal is now starting to take damage, so he did let those drones to get a little bit too close to him. If he is purely speed tank, this could of course affect him.
As he does dip into half armor, half shield, we might again be seeing another one of those ancillary shield booster setups. He'll likely throw in a boost here, as hobgoblins don't do a lot of damage, and Cannonfodder is shooting them down. So
now we have a electronic warfare drone here on the field as well. I can't see if it's from the which ship is actually putting that out there. I think it's a webbing drone, but what we have here is Caracal is once again starting to shoot down these drones. And Vexor, of course, will soon run out of those drones. However, the Vexor has now gone right on top of this Caracal somehow. I don't know how that happened, considering that the Vexor only does 600 meters per second, while the Caracal can do about 2Ks overloaded. I think the Caracal has just said, well, I don't care, let's get up close and personal. So far, the Caracal is not completely shield tank, speed tank. He does have an active shield booster. We saw his shields dip quite low there, and he's back to normal, so maybe now he's quite comfortable to get this Caracal right on top of him.
Yeah, at this stage I think it's been several minutes into the match, and the Caracal is likely low on capacitor and unable to keep that micro warp drive running and kite for the entire match. I think the way he's played it though is, like I said, reasonably safe. He's kept at range early on, used that capacitor to maintain that range and do damage to the Vexor's drones. Now we're seeing that the Vexor is probably out of drones at this stage. I think with the
he's out of drones, but he is not out of guns and ammo. He is shooting Cannonfodder down. The shields dipped almost down to at 10% there. He's pulling slightly back. If you're right, and he is out of low on capacitor, this could still go very wrong for Cannonfodder. Having a Vexor sneak up on you like that is no good for business whatsoever. Having said that, Cannonfodder has reloaded his heavy missile and heavy assault missiles, and he is pounding Xrend. Still have some drones on field. I can only believe these are wet drones from the Caracal itself. I have no idea if Caracal even has a drone bay anymore, but I believe it does. Yes, I'm getting some nods in this video, obviously, not knowing all of the latest nerfs and whatnot that have gone on. I'm a little bit lost here. However, saying that, the Caracal is now in half armor, taking chunks. 15 cubic meters of drones. Okay, well, there you go. Cannonfodder is now entering about half armor. He is pulling back shields slowly. Xrend is taking damage, but able to tank now quite comfortably. Maybe he was bait tanking for a minute there because he let his armor go down. Now he has no problem whatsoever keeping that active armor tank up.
It looks like you say, the blaster damage from the Vexor might be enough to chew the cap charges of Cannonfodder out for the rest of the match. And, maybe he's got enough of his own cap charges to keep that armor tank up. We can see his HP there in the armor for Xrend, definitely coming back up in armor there. Cannonfodder still boosting slightly on the shields and just bleeding through armor and structure like the previous shield tankers we saw. Both of them back to essentially full HP for on their tank layers at this stage.
Yes, it looks like Xrend doesn't have any neutralizers. We're not seeing any neutralizer effects here. So what he's probably set up is all ganked in the highs, which is playing to his strengths right now. He's able to do more damage than Cannonfodder. Once again, Cannonfodder now running a little bit low on his cap, on his booster cycles. His shields are going down to about 10%. If he lets that dip much lower, he's gonna eat into his precious armor and hull reserves, which are not going to get any better here. I think Xrend is once again starting to look quite comfortable.
Again, both of them back to full tank layers. Really on the wait to see how the cap warfare plays out in this. It seems like Xrend has, now that he has the scram and the scrambling web on the Caracal, he knows it's not going anywhere. He knows that the Caracal is shield boosting and continuously, so it's probably a dual ASB, maybe like 2 larges or maybe 1 extra large. We haven't seen a massive boost amount come through, so probably just the double larges. and he just has to chew down the cap charges from the shield there. And rather than waste his own cap charges to run his newts, he's just using the cap charges to keep his tank and his blasters going, because that's really all that he needs to do at this stage.
Well, that's right. Both ships are starting to close up on the boundary. They have about 10 kms to go before they're out of bounds. Now, what we have seen in previous matches on the Alliance tournament side, of course, is that people have managed to bait somebody out of bounds, which could happen, but this time around, I don't think that's a likelihood. Going at blistering speeds of 130 meters per second, that's certainly not a danger territory. Cannonfodder has loaded some damage types, and he's now getting Xrend almost down to a hole. Xrend is starting to take a vast amount of damage here. What happened?
These rapid light missiles do quite a lot of damage in bursts. As we see, every now and then he's got a reload, and that 35-second reload time kills your sustained DPS. But during the times when he can shoot, it's really going to come pumping through. I think Xrend would be likely overheating his armor rappers during these stages, or if he's a dual armor rep, maybe he can get a reload cycle on an ancillary armor rep and get some more paste back in, so that during these stages he can run that overheat to keep the tank up. You can see he's quite easily and comfortably coming back to half armor now and back to full armor.
Yeah, looks like
the way it
Xrend
jumped from mid to full armor there almost in one go makes it seem like there's two reppers there.
Well, it looks like Cannonfodder also went into his reload cycle, so he got Xrend into the bare minimum armor rep there, but not quite enough of burst damage. He has to wait until that next reload cycle in about 30 seconds from now until he gets a chance to go at it again, and there we go. Cannonfodder is having another go. Both ships probably overheating as much as they possibly can. They have to be very careful in managing that and having the match run into almost overtime here. Both of these ships probably will have a lot of burned out mods and a danger of burning out a damage dealing or a repping mod would be disastrous at this point in time.
Yeah, it definitely could be. It's interesting you mentioned earlier the idea of fighting to the arena boundary. I think previous matches before today, during the Oceanic Assault tournament, we've seen some people try this, to walk in right on the max range of the boundary and sit there and try to bait their opponent out to orbit them and be disqualified when they orbit out past the boundary lines.
Well, it's a good thing at least Randolph isn't playing in this tourney, because if he would be here, you wouldn't even have to bait him out. He'd just run out of those bounds like nobody's business. It's like Candyland, and he thinks he needs to go there. If there's a border, he crosses it every single time. Having said that, Cannonfodder did have a go at Xrend shields here again. Didn't manage to do that well this time around. Cannonfodder taking some damage again, but it does look like Xrend is quite comfortable at just waiting his time and trying to get those gap boosters worn out. Both ships now shooting at each other, which is always positive to see. Xrend taking damage, still holding quite comfortably. I think he's managed his cap a little bit better at this go. Having said that, he just turns one of these reppers off, and he's going deep into armor once again. Let's see if Cannonfodder can have a proper go this time. Time his missiles, his overheating right, and put Xrend into hole. Xrend hanging on about half armor. Now Cannonfodder getting some damage in again. Still holding steady at about half shields or so. How much time do we have on the match still, guys?
Match time is unlimited.
Match time is unlimited. How exciting.
You go to an ad break.
Chimera
just said if this goes on for much longer, we'll go on an ad break.
At the end of the previous match and during the warm-up phase of this one, we were waiting for the opponents to come onto field. I mentioned the fact that there are the remaining drones from the previous match, and Xrend has obviously not figured that out, that he might be able to get back across the field and pick up extra drones here at this point. I mean, it's likely that the Caracal would shoot them, but whatever can help you at this stage, right? If the match progresses on, I'm not sure how they draw a winner, but perhaps it's whoever's lowest on the HP.
Of course, if Xrend now goes and picks up those drones, he will be out of the scram web range, and the Caracal can start kiting again. Having said that, he wasn't particularly good at that last time around, so I think you're correct. We should see Xrend here make a dash for it. He's not doing too well with the current strategy. Both players in chat are asking each other, how much ammo do you have left? It's come to this that you have to kind of worry about the whether or not you brought enough ammo, and you might see a couple of thousand ISK make a difference here if you were cheap on your ammo.
Yeah, it's something that's hard when it comes to these small cargo holds like that, is how many cap charges do I take versus how much ammo do I take, because if you put as many cap charges as you can in your cargo, often you can leave a lot of room for stocking up huge amounts of ammo. So this could be one of those matches where a certain trade-off might have paid the difference. So.
Absolutely, I think Xrend is listening to us. He's now pulling range from this Caracal. Probably we will see him heading straight towards those drones that were left from a previous match. We've seen this in Alliance tournaments actually quite often, where drones left on the field by dying comrades has made a difference. Camp chargers as well from any wrecks of your fellow mates. Obviously in an Alliance tournament it's a team match where the first guy to fall probably has a full cargo of camp charges and ammo.
And you can see the Caracal has taken off in quite a hurry there. Its speed's picking up to 1 kilometer a second now.
But Xrend is now in trouble. He's out of armor. He's dipping into half hull. He has mistimed his rep cycles. He's now in 10%, 5%, and gone. And all of a sudden, match that was delaying on has just finished. Cannonfodder in a Caracal perhaps takes a little bit of a surprise victory here, seeing that he has no hull whatsoever left on his ship either. This went down to the wire, and the Caracal pulled it off. That was a nice little Caracal there.